It is a truth universally acknowledged that a single man in possession of a good fortune must be in want of a wife. With this iconic opening line, Jane Austen sets the tone for one of the most enduring and beloved novels in English literature, Pride and Prejudice. First published in 1813, this novel has transcended generations, captivating readers with its razor-sharp wit, complex characters, and powerful social commentary. Today, we take a closer look at the novel's origins, plot, characters, themes, and cultural legacy.
Jane Austen, the mind behind the masterpiece.
Jane Austen, 1775 to 1817, was a literary pioneer whose nuanced portraits of 18th and early 19th century British society made her one of the most influential writers in the English language. Born into a modest family in Hampshire, England, Austen was well educated and widely read. Her insight into the social structures of her time, combined with a sharp wit and mastery of irony, enabled her to craft novels that were both entertaining and profound. Though her novels were published anonymously during her lifetime, Austen's work gained popularity for its clever satire of the gentry, its exploration of women's limited roles, and its emphasis on inner character over social status. Pride and Prejudice, originally titled First Impressions, was completed in 1797 but faced rejection before its eventual publication 16 years later. Today, it stands not only as a cornerstone of British literature but also as a template for romantic storytelling.
Plot overview: misunderstandings, love and growth.
The novel is set in rural England and revolves around the lives of the Bennet family, particularly the second daughter, Elizabeth Bennet.
Act 1. Introductions and expectations.
The story begins in the quiet town of Meryton, where Mrs. Bennet is thrilled to hear that a wealthy bachelor, Mr. Charles Bingley, has moved into the nearby Netherfield estate. With 5 daughters and no sons, she is desperate to see them married well. At a ball, Bingley quickly takes a liking to the eldest daughter, Jane Bennet. Meanwhile, Bingley's friend Mr. Fitzwilliam Darcy, although even wealthier, snubs Elizabeth and earns a reputation for being proud and aloof. This first impression sets the tone for Elizabeth's initial dislike of him.
Act 2. Proposals and prejudices.
Tensions rise when Mr. Collins, a pompous clergyman and heir to the Bennet estate, proposes to Elizabeth. She refuses, much to her mother's dismay. Collins quickly proposes to Charlotte Lucas, Elizabeth's friend, who accepts for practical reasons. Simultaneously, Elizabeth meets the charming Mr. Wickham, who tells her a false story of how Darcy wronged him. Elizabeth's prejudice against Darcy deepens. When Darcy proposes to Elizabeth, she is shocked and furious because of his perceived arrogance and role in separating Bingley from Jane. She rejects him. Later, Darcy writes a letter explaining the truth about Wickham and his actions to protect Bingley. Elizabeth begins to reconsider her views.
Act 3. Realizations and redemption.
Elizabeth visits Darcy's estate, Pemberley, and is impressed by his generosity and the respect he commands. She learns more about his true character. Crisis strikes when Lydia, the youngest Bennet daughter, elopes with Wickham. Darcy quietly intervenes to arrange their marriage and preserve the Bennet honor. Eventually, Darcy proposes again, this time humbly, and Elizabeth accepts, realizing how much she misjudged him. The novel ends with 2 marriages, Elizabeth and Darcy, Jane and Bingley, uniting affection, respect, and personal growth.
Key characters. A cast that still resonates.
Elizabeth Bennet. the protagonist and second daughter of the Bennet family. Intelligent, independent, and witty, Elizabeth is unafraid to speak her mind and resist societal expectations. Her journey is one of self-awareness, as she learns to look beyond first impressions. Mr. Fitzwilliam Darcy. A wealthy and initially aloof gentleman whose pride hides a generous and moral nature. His development centers on humility, as he overcomes his social prejudices and opens himself to emotional vulnerability. Jane Bennet and Charles Bingley. The ideal romantic couple, gentle, sweet, and kind, but their relationship is nearly derailed by misunderstandings and external influence. Mr. and Mrs. Bennet. The comedic contrast of wisdom and foolishness. Mr. Bennet is sarcastic and disengaged, Mrs. Bennet is nervously obsessed with marrying off her daughters. Mr. Collins, Lydia Bennet, and George Wickham. Supporting characters who each highlight different societal flaws, obsequiousness, recklessness, and deceit.
Themes and literary techniques.
Pride and Prejudice. As the title suggests, the central theme is the interplay between pride and prejudice. Darcy's pride and Elizabeth's prejudice both obstruct their happiness. The novel masterfully shows how misjudgments based on class, behavior, and hearsay can distort perceptions. Class and marriage. Marriage is presented as a necessity for women, but Austen critiques the mercenary motives often attached to it. Elizabeth's refusal to marry without affection marks a progressive stance for her era. Satire and irony. Austen's voice is laced with irony, especially in her portrayal of characters like Mr. Collins and Mrs. Bennet. This subtle humor masks sharp criticism of societal norms. Language and dialogue. Austen's prose is elegant and precise, with dialogue that sparkles with subtext and wit. Conversations reveal character depth and power dynamics.
Adaptations and cultural impact.
Pride and Prejudice has been adapted countless times across film, television, literature, and even web series. Some notable examples include 1995 BBC miniseries starring Colin Firth and Jennifer Ely, a fan favourite for its faithfulness and emotional depth. 2005 film with Keira Knightley and Matthew McFadden, a modern cinematic take with lush visuals and dramatic flair. Bridget Jones's Diary, a romantic comedy inspired by Austen's themes. Pride and Prejudice and Zombies, a satirical twist that mixes romance with horror. Its themes of love, misunderstanding, and transformation are so universal that they continue to resonate in every era.
Personal reflection.
Pride and Prejudice is more than a romantic novel, it is a meditation on growth, integrity, and empathy. Austen teaches us that understanding others requires shedding our pride and challenging our biases. Through Elizabeth and Darcy, we learn that true love is not instant or perfect, it is forged in humility, courage, and mutual respect.
Conclusion and viewer engagement.
Pride and Prejudice remains a literary treasure because it speaks timeless truths with grace and humor. As you revisit this novel, whether through reading or adaptation, ask yourself: ornament what first impressions have you misjudged? What does love mean in a society full of expectations? Speech balloon, let us know in the comments. Who is your favorite character? Which adaptation do you love most? Have you ever had a Darcy moment? Don't forget to subscribe to this series as we dive into more literary gems. Next up, George Orwell's 1984.